watching Fox 10 Phoenix now.
It's Fox 10 News Alert here this morning. Developing overnight, a police shooting is under investigation in North Phoenix.
Yeah, this happened near 21st Street and Union Hills Drive. This all happened late last night when officers responded to a domestic violence call. And police say when they arrived at the home around 11 p.m., they were met by two people. Those two people told officers that a man they knew was inside and that he was armed with a pair of knives. The officers went into that house, confronted the man who was holding the weapons, but that individual refused to drop them. That's when police opened fire.
After the shooting, officers were able to move up and give the man commands again to comply and to give his hands. The man did not comply, and he was a less lethal tool was used, at what point the officers were able to secure his hands.
That suspect was taken to the hospital where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. We're told that that suspect has already been released from the hospitals. No officers or other people were hurt. Police are now asking for patience as they continue to investigate the scene.
There is another shooting here under investigation involving Phoenix police. This one was on Thanksgiving evening. Investigators identifying the man who was shot and killed by officers responding to a call about a fight. Police say they tried to pull this man over. His name is Saul Loya. It was Thursday evening. 48-year-old did not stop. He ran into the backyard of a home near 75th Avenue in Osborne after hearing shots. Police then set up a perimeter around the house. When officers encountered him, he raised his gun and officers opened fire.
We're working to get additional details for you on some bad crashes from around the valley that we first told you about late last night. Sky Fox was over this situation. This was a rollover crash that shut down a part of the I-10. DPS says several vehicles were involved in the collision, which happened near Fairway Drive, right in Avondale. Injuries were reported, but it's not clear how many people were hurt or how bad those injuries were. The crash is under investigation.
There was another one under investigation here, shut down a big-time roadway in the East Valley. Gila River Police say Riggs Road was closed in both directions between the I-10 and State Route 347. It isn't clear what led up to the crash. We also don't have many details about potential injuries at this time. Now this.
They don't look like your traditional thief with a Slim Jim or breaking a window. It could be a very nicely dressed man or woman just walking to a car with a clone key and steal it right in broad daylight, and there would be nothing suspicious about it.
Isn't that wild? A chilling thought that it's becoming a scary reality in the valley and other parts of the state. An auto theft ring with ties to Mexico stealing high-end vehicles in Arizona, and it's happening while the owners are sleeping there in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and DPS is giving additional details about these theft rings and how they operate. The vehicles were either stolen in parking lots or driveways from people's homes. So far, 4 men have been arrested. The thefts reportedly took place in North Phoenix and Waddell between September 23rd and November 1st. So video out of Waddell shows those suspects you see on your screen stealing a truck from a driveway. They're heavily armed with assault rifles and used a key cloning device to steal the owners' vehicles right from their driveway there.
This was a coordination effort of individuals using sophisticated means to steal high-end vehicles throughout the state of Arizona. These vehicles were transported into Mexico to continue the efforts and further goals of transnational criminal organizations.
I wouldn't keep your key fob like in a bowl by your front door. I'd keep it inside the house further in because how far the signal can go.
So a tracking device such as an Apple AirTag can also be used to help police find a stolen vehicle more quickly. The value of the car stolen so far totaled $1.4 million. DPS says so far 22 of the stolen vehicles have been recovered. A Buckeye woman sharing her incredible story of survival.
20-year-old Anaya Brown was shot 8 times by her ex-boyfriend in an attempted murder-suicide. Brown says on November 19th, her ex arrived at her home uninvited and angry. She says he pulled out a gun and shot her in front of her Buckeye home. Police say her ex then turned the gun on himself. Well, he died hours later. As for Anaya, her vital organs were spared and she was released from the hospital just in time for Thanksgiving. Well, she didn't want to show her face. She says she wanted her story to be heard.
Knowing that I'm going to make a full recovery, knowing that I could still kiss my little siblings, stuff like that, are just genuinely helping me. It really is.
What a frightening ordeal. Well, Anaya wears a cast and needs a cane to walk right now. She will need physical therapy as well. There's a GoFundMe page for her medical expenses and recovery. We have a link to that on our website, fox10phoenix.com.
A sad update to share with you this morning. The 8-year-old boy who was hit by that statue that fell at the Arizona Biltmore has died. The statue, made of concrete, fell on him last Wednesday in the courtyard of the property. This morning we are learning that the boy died on Thanksgiving at a hospital. Police are calling this a tragic accident, but no word yet on how or why that statue fell.
In East Valley and Mesa, lawmakers are cracking down on homelessness. Last night, the city council approved a ban on urban camping on all city property. This comes months after a U.S. Supreme Court ruling gave cities permission to enforce laws on urban camping. A number of cities across Arizona have also passed similar laws.
Also in Mesa, the city voted unanimously to hike up utility rates. The city council cited a lack of property tax and sales tax as a reason for the move. The mayor, John Giles, says customers will pay about $5 a month per month. The new rate takes effect in February rather.
If you're an SRP customer, your power bill may be increasing. The company says the average customer would see a monthly increase of about $5.50. The first public meeting on this proposal is next month at Glendale Community College. NASA asked universities around the country to come up with a new idea to fix a pretty big problem, not on Earth, but on the moon.
And 16 ASU students were chosen to participate, and they won. ASU students who worked inside the university's Luminosity lab took part in NASA's Big Idea Challenge. They finally landed on an inflatable lunar landing pad system called Aegis. The students were given 8 months and a grant of $150,000 to research and test the system. They presented their idea to a panel of judges and took home the Best System Engineering Award.
Encompasses all of the ways that you approach a project to validate all of its components and really rigorously test through everything and prove everything out. So we're super proud of that.
I see.
Winning awards is nothing new for young scientists at Arizona State University. In fact, this is the 3rd year that the university's Luminosity lab has competed in NASA's Big Idea Challenge and won. That's a pretty good track record.
Yeah, way to go, Sun Devils.
Wow.
Smart students there, those ASU students.
Indeed.
Yeah, and those ASU alumni, too.
Are you talking about yourself?
Yeah, a little. I'm joking, though. Health Watch here, a new study by the Washington University School of Medicine shows having a beer belly in your 40s or 50s really could indicate that you're at high risk for Alzheimer's. There's a lot of different studies with neurologists. They're looking into how the brain works and if there's any connection, with how we live every day connected to Alzheimer's. Researchers found those who had more visceral fat, which forms around vital organs like the heart, stomach, and liver, had abnormal proteins in the brain that could indicate Alzheimer's. The disease is a leading cause of dementia in the U.S., where it affects almost 7 million patients.
All right, here's a story that's trending this morning. The nonprofit that operates Wikipedia, well, they have released its annual list of the most popular articles on the site.
So Wikipedia's list of deaths in 2024 claimed the top spot with more than 44 million page views. Second place was Kamala Harris, followed by this year's presidential election. Other election-related topics also made the list, including Donald Trump Project 2025 and J.D. Vance Outside Politics. Of course, people viewed pages for this year's Summer Olympic Games. ChatGPT was huge. Deadpool and Wolverine, that's one of the summer's huge hits. Sean Diddy Combs, of course, with his lawsuit that is still in the court system, and the Menendez brothers, who had hoped that they would be home by Thanksgiving, but that did not happen. And back here in Arizona.
And out of the frigid cold, Fox 10 speaking with some Thanksgiving travelers happy to be back here in the desert.
Yeah, so this is because a large portion of the country bracing for below freezing temperatures while we see potentially record-breaking temperatures here. Of course, it's nice and warm. We're not complaining, but that lake effect snow is slamming the Great Lakes region. I was chatting with a friend in Michigan yesterday, and she was like, it is absolutely literally, I'm freezing my tush off, she said. Putting 7 states from Wisconsin to New York all under snow alerts. Forecasters say expect as much as 70% of the nation to experience freezing temperatures into this week, and that's affecting the East Coast as well, down through the Southeast, down through North Carolina. Cold on those coastal towns. Arizonans landing at Sky Harbor, though, happy to be back in this warmer weather.
We were there for my niece's wedding, so that was lovely, but I froze the whole time I was there.
Cold over there. We went to the Macy's Day Parade. It was raining. It was probably in the 20s.
Yeah, we stood in the rain for like 6.5 hours for the parade, so it was worth it though.
And look at this guy right here. He's kind of plowing some snow in his front yard. He's probably has his AirPods in, listening.
Just jamming. What do you think he's listening
like
to?
Bon Jovi, living on a prayer. He's like, please, snow, stop, please. But this week, with more snow on the way in the Northeast, New York's governor pledging first responders will continue working around the clock to keep travelers safe. Because, of course, we're making, a little fun, but it can get quite dangerous there with those very cold temperatures and those road conditions.
All right, so let's talk about this because they're seeing some very cold temperatures, a lot of snow. We here in Arizona experiencing some very warm temperatures. So we're talking about La Nina this morning.
Yes, so let's send it over to meteorologist Crystal Ortiz with more on that. Hey, Crystal.
Yeah, hey, Ty, Celeste. So some folks thinking we're already in that La Nina pattern. Remember, we typically every couple of years flip back and forth between an El Nino, a La Nina, or something called neutral. We're actually right now considered neutral, but we are under a La Nina watch. So what does that even mean? Well, it's all about those ocean temperatures of the Pacific and how they start to spread eastward. When they are hotter than average, we're under an El Nino pattern. But when they are cooler than average, which is what we are starting to see develop, that's when we start to shift towards a La Nina pattern. Those global patterns influence how the winters play out across the U.S. So under this La Nina watch, what we're looking at is a weak but short-lived La Nina is expected to develop. Right now, it's at almost a 60% chance that it'll develop between October to December. Now you might say, Crystal, we're in December. It has to be 3 months consistently where we see these below average temperatures for it to officially be declared. So we've already seen it in October and in November. We need it this month as well for it to be declared as a La Nina. The forecast is for it to last through the spring of 2025, but because it's short-lived, the impacts to our winter may be a little less than usual. Here's what the impacts though typically are during a La Nina. Not always, but typically. And you can see over our neck of the woods, drier conditions, warm and wet up in New England and cold and wet up in areas to the north. Now, just a reminder, a couple of winters ago, guys, we were in what was called a triple dip La Nina 3 years in a row. The third year brought us a huge winter. So it's not always a guarantee that you're dry during a La Nina, but it does lean that way.